These are the trippiest Adventure Time episodes of all time, starting with an episode which is one of the most accurate representations of a psychedelic experience in all of Adventure Time. In Season 8, Episode 3, titled Beyond the Grotto, Finn and Jake find themselves in an alternate world which is incredibly trippy. Let me tell you how they got here. The episode starts with Finn waking up on top of a being known as a sea lard.
Dude, that's like the 8th time.
Keep in mind, lards in Adventure Time are often connected to spiritual events and overall weirdness, so interesting things are about to go down. Anyway, Finn and Jake think the lard is gross, so they go and throw it out in the pond in front of their house.
See ya, larder!
Although, their friend Shelby lets them know that there's one big problem with doing this.
Is he, like, okay?
Well, seeing as sea lards are saltwater fish and the pond is a freshwater environment, no?
After hearing this, Finn and Jake decide to jump into the pond to save the lard, and find themselves in an underwater cave. Isn't it interesting how mushrooms which look like this are prominent within the cave? If you know, you know. And, on top of this, there are water nymphs who call themselves guardians of the grotto singing Smash the Frogs, while they are using rolling pins on something which is unseen by us viewers. This is definitely inferring that they are extracting, let's just say, certain compounds from a frog. In real life, there is a frog known as the Colorado river toad, which produces psychedelic compounds from its skin. So, we can quite well assume what these hippie nymphs are up to. Anyway, to greet Finn and Jake, the nymphs offer them hot dogs.
Hot dogs!
I bet they're vegan ones.
Oh, wait! We dropped our sea lard in the pond and we gotta save it before it dies from the fresh water.
You do know sea lards are mammals, right?
I definitely knew that.
Immediately, Finn and Jake decide to continue with their mission and chase the lard to a whirlpool. As they enter the whirlpool, one of the nymphs gives them a warning.
Whatever you do, don't touch the purple stuff!
After being sucked in, Finn and Jake mysteriously exit from the same pond they used to enter the grotto to begin with. But things aren't quite the exact same, and they're now in a realm that seems to be an alternate version of their homeworld.
And how about our treehouse? The house parts are gone. I guess we went through some portal to the past or some biz. Was stuff the wrong color in the past?
It seems like Jake may be onto something, as some less evolved versions of Finn and Jake are shown drinking from the pond after Finn and Jake run away chasing after the lard. While they're chasing it, purple particles show up in the air and one lands on Finn. As they keep walking, things transition into a purple-colored area. Here there is an alternate version of Ice King called Princess Purple Patch. Jake greets Princess Purple Patch by saying this.
Hi, Purple. I'm Jin and he's fake.
It seems that for some reason Finn and Jake are starting to forget their past lives. And things only get worse as Princess Purple Patch throws a bunch of purple particles on Finn and Jake, which makes them happy and more childlike. Wait, but they're happy, so why exactly is this worse? Well, doing this to them makes Princess Purple Patch sad, so she flies away.
Oh dear, I've purpled you.
As well, these particles add a purple aura around both Finn and Jake. It seems to me that the color purple represents going deeper down the rabbit hole of psychedelic/spiritual experiences of alternate consciousness and destroying your own ego. Let me explain why. Right now, Finn and Jake's main essence is not completely purple, so they still have connection to their past lives and aren't fully assimilated into this new world. But this new purple aura around the two of them is demonstrating that a small part of their ego is beginning to dissolve, and they're now starting to forget the complexity of their past egos which they had before entering this new realm. They're undergoing a dissolvement of ego and returning to more essential forms of themselves.
What were we just doing? We were, who are we? I don't know, man, but I like these things.
Because of Finn still mostly being normal and not completely purple, he has been put in a difficult middle ground where he's not able to fully live by the rules of his old realm and ego or his new realm and ego. He wants to stay attached to his past ego and is trying to make sense of things in this new realm by using it. Although because of his past ego continually fading away, doing this is definitely not easy.
Foon. I'm Foon. I'm fine.
Notice how as he almost connects to his past ego, the purple aura disappears for a second? He's even beginning to forget what Jake's past ego was.
Jump!
Due to the onset of ego dissolvement, Finn is starting to live more in the present moment, rather than trying to look too far into the past or future. That's why rather than trying to define what he or Jake is, he goes with the flow and says he's fine, as well as jumps. The two of them are becoming so present and disconnected from their old egos that rather than Finn and Jake, they begin calling themselves boy and dog.
I am boy. We are boy and dog. I'm patting the ground, boy.
Eventually, the two of them come across a bee, which is an alternate version of BMO. This bee is the same color as Finn and Jake, but rather than a purple aura, it has a green one. It's actually rather important that it's green, and I'll get into why very soon. Anyway, the bee tells them a poem.
Listen for sound and look around. Unless Egress is out, miles will be not found.
This poem seems to be saying that if you don't find a way out of the rabbit hole of ego dissolvement, you can never be happy. Because once you reach the point of completely killing your own ego, nothing has meaning anymore. At that point, a smile is neither good or bad. It's not even something defined by a word. Because of the deeper meaning of this poem, it seems that the bee's green aura is a representation of connecting to an ego. Only a being that's connected to an ego can understand the very idea of the poem itself. If you aren't connected to an ego, you won't be able to make any sense out of the poem at all. And unlike the bee who has a green aura, a being like Princess Purple Patch who is almost completely purple, besides some white outlines, is a demonstration that she's so deep down the rabbit hole of ego dissolvement that there was almost no ego left for her to make sense of things. The only bits of ego she has left are her white outlines, which define her human-like form. Her major lack of connection to an ego made her accidentally make others happy. But why did she cry after doing so? Well, that's because the very bit of ego she had left was able to understand that making people more purple would mean that they are now deeper down the rabbit hole of ego death, and could get stuck in a cycle of their limited understanding due to lack of ego, causing them to be dragged down even deeper and deeper into ego death. And once too deep down this rabbit hole, people are no longer able to comprehend what happiness even is, just as the bee explains in its poem. After hearing the bee's poem and not understanding it due to their egos dissolving, Finn and Jake soon become fully purple with an aura of their old egos, rather than the other way around. Their past egos are almost completely faded now, as they come across the pond where it all started. The pond then talks to them and offers them to dive into it, but they decide not to and want to go and continue to live their lives within this new realm. But before they can keep shattering their old egos further and become even more purple, the sea lard pushes them into the pond and they return to their normal lives. Because of being saved from complete ego destruction by the sea lard and getting trapped in this new realm, Finn decides to treat it nicely and tucks it into bed.
I bet she ran away because we didn't appreciate you and called you gross and stuff. But you're not gross. Good night, Sea Lard.
Finn saying this to end things off is probably inferring that the sea lard is a representation of the different ways in real life which people can choose to explore the rabbit holes of consciousness, spirituality, alternate realms, their own minds, and so on. In real life, many of the ways to access such deep ego-destroying experiences are often frowned upon by lots of people for some reason, even though having such experiences can completely shift people's lives for the better and help them to understand themselves and reality deeper.
We didn't save the Sea Lard. The Sea Lard saved us.
Yay, Sea Lord!
Having such profound experiences can even make people view the ways to access these experiences which they may have once frowned upon in a new, more positive light. At the end of the day, such experiences definitely have potential to expose new truths and layers to the reality which you previously once knew. Why do you think this episode is titled Beyond the Grotto? What is a grotto? Well, according to the definition, a grotto is a small picturesque cave, especially an artificial one in a park or garden. The key here is artificial. Right from the time we are born, we begin forming our own artificial understanding of reality, which is our ego. That is why when Finn and Jake become more purple from Princess Purple Patch and or have their egos further destroyed, they become more childlike. Children are less attached to a specific ego than adults are, and because they are less attached to a specific ego, the continuous events of the present moment define their ego and understanding of things to a much more major extent than it does with adults. Our egos are formed by day-to-day life and the environment around us. These egos which we form aren't necessarily the entirety of the truth to reality itself, and are only a small part of the bigger picture. The less attached we are to an individual ego, the more malleable the rules of reality are.
I am boy. We are boy and dog.
And there are way more layers to reality than we think. This whole episode is so trippy because it's about Finn and Jake diving down the rabbit hole of conscious exploration and going beyond the grotto, or beyond the artificial egos which they've grown attached to, and entering a space where the rules of the reality which they once knew are able to be redefined in real time. Since we are on the topic of what forms a person's ego and reality, let's talk about the episode where Finn's reality becomes living a life in a world made of pillows, all the way up till his death. This one is incredibly trippy. In season 5, episode 16, titled Puhoy, Jake is making a massive pillow fort, but Finn doesn't seem interested in helping and is rather sad. When Jake asks Finn what gives, Finn says how he's thinking about his girlfriend Flame Princess.
I told her a joke the other day, and she didn't even laugh or anything. Guess it's over between us.
Jake disagrees with Finn's assumptions.
You're getting all hung up on imaginary problems. You gotta focus on what's real, man.
And BMO suggests that maybe she just hasn't understood the joke yet. To further emphasize his point, Jake does this.
You see this cup? This is literally my favorite cup. Huh. Now it's gone forever, so it's not real, and I don't care about it anymore.
Finn misses Jake's point completely and decides he just needs some alone time to think about things. So he crawls into the pillow fort, and right away things start to get weird, as he finds himself in a dark void with light coming from a small hole within a bunch of pillows. He figures he should climb into it and finds himself in a pillow dimension of some sort, a whole new world. It even has pillow birds, and things only get even weirder as when Finn looks back, the entrance from his world is gone. After exploring around a bit, he comes across people made of pillows and even slays a pillow dragon. Because of slaying this dragon, the pillow people host a celebration for him. Then at the celebration, he meets a girl named Rosalind, who asks him to dance. Although Finn rejects her offer because he has a girlfriend.
Dummy, it's a dance, not marriage.
Are you sure about that, Rosalind? But anyway, this comment of Rosalind's causes Finn to decide to dance with her after all. But he soon concludes he has bigger priorities and wants to find his way home. So he asks the leader of the pillow people, Quilton, about how he can do so. Except there's a problem, as Quilton wants to help, but doesn't know about any portal to Finn's homeworld. It looks like Finn is trapped in this new world. Right after this, the episode cuts to Jake retrieving his mug, which he threw away to prove his point to Finn. This seems to be a representation of Finn's inability to enjoy the present moment and to let go of the past.
It's been nice, Rosalind, but I gotta get back to my home.
I mean, it can be hard to let go of the past. So hard, in fact, that even as Finn is shown getting older within the pillow world and eventually even having kids with Rosalind, he still can't seem to let go of his past life. Also, so much for dancing not leading to marriage, like Rosalind suggested earlier. While Finn is with his new family, Quilton shows up and mentions to Finn that archaeologists found an ancient book that mentions a door which shows up periodically and then disappears. Finn is immediately interested and says how he needs to find that door. Rosalind is nearby, able to hear Finn say this, and seems rather sad about it. I mean, it's almost as if Finn's new life with his wife and kids doesn't have much meaning to him. He only cares about returning to the past. Right after this scene, the episode cuts to BMO playing with Jake's mug, and he has a clown wig on it. Because the mug is a representation of returning to the past, I'd say that this is potentially symbolism that those who choose to return to the past are clowns and need to live more presently. The episode then cuts back to Finn. He is even older and has come across an oracle who lives in the mountains while on a journey to find his way to his homeworld. When Finn proceeds to ask the oracle for answers on how to get home, the oracle says this.
The real question is, are you sure you want to?
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. You won't be here long.
The fart from the oracle causes Finn to leave his tent and go back to his family who is on the journey with him. Rosalind is sad about Finn having to go back to his homeworld, but says she knew it would happen for years already. All she asks is that Finn remembers them when he returns to his real life. Hearing this from her makes Finn reflect on his memory of Jake speaking to him before he came to the pillow world. Except the passing of time has made him remember things completely wrong. This is what actually happened.
You're getting all hung up on imaginary problems. You gotta focus on what's real, man.
And this is how Finn remembers it.
You're getting all hung up on imaginary problems. Stay with your new wife. You've known her longer now than any of us. You're not even sure I ever really existed.
After remembering things this way, Finn concludes he does in fact need to let go of the past and decides to stop chasing returning to it. So he returns home with his new family and is shown growing old with them and is on his deathbed. He soon dies, and as this happens, a mandala takes over his vision and his pillow life shatters into nothingness. Mandalas are spiritual symbols that are linked to deep personal spiritual lessons and are sometimes thought to be portals to other realms of consciousness, so including this as Finn dies is rather trippy. The pillow version of Finn then flies through a dark void as he passes the entity known as Galb. Galb is a central part of Finn's entire story, and I talk about his impact on Finn's life in my video which breaks down Finn's entire story, so be sure to watch that video after you finish this one, so you can understand all of that better. I'll link it in the description at the end of this video. Anyway, after flying through this void, Finn is then reborn back into his original life, with the way which he comes out of the pillow fort being a visual representation of this rebirth. Immediately, he wants to tell Jake about the crazy events which just took place, but he gets a phone call from Flame Princess saying that she didn't get his joke up until now and that she finds it funny.
I knew it.
Then when Jake asks Finn to talk about the events which he was just about to explain, Finn completely forgets everything and ever even living his pillow life. Wow, this episode really shows why we ourselves shouldn't assume what other people are thinking, and allow that to control our emotions. As well, how we must let go of the past in order to live our lives to the fullest in the present moment. At the end of the day, things will play out just how they're supposed to anyway. But the trippiest part of this entire episode isn't just Finn living a life in a pillow world and dying, just to come back to his usual life. The trippiest part is the fact that this whole episode is more real than many of us think. Experiencing alternate states of consciousness where an entire other life is lived is possible through many different ways. And the crazy thing is, some people can remember these types of things happening and living other lives, and some can't. But let's just say, just because Finn didn't remember his experience of living almost an entire life in a pillow world, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Wow, that's a lot to think about, huh? Speaking of thinking about things, let's talk about the episode where thinking is all Finn is able to do, and what this very deep thinking of his teaches him. Spoiler alert, very deep thinking can get incredibly trippy. In Season 7, Episode 24, titled Hall of Egress, Finn and Jake find a cave. But as Finn enters, Jake gets locked out, and Finn is left completely alone. With no other choice, he decides to begin exploring while untying his shirt and leaving the string behind him so he can later retrace his steps. As he explores, he comes across a room with an upside-down snowman statue and a door labeled Hall of Egress.
Egress. What's egress mean?
Exit.
No matter how hard he tries to open this door, it won't budge. Even when bashing it with part of the snowman statue, Finn believes he's officially stuck and is ready to give up. So he closes his eyes and leans against the door. As he does so, he continues to fall without the door stopping him. This catches him off guard, and right as he reacts, he is teleported back to a standing position, and the room seems to be reset, with the snowman statue being untouched. Things are already getting weird. And they only get weirder as Finn soon realizes he's dealing with a magic door which allows for passage only while his eyes are closed. So he closes his eyes and passes through. Believing he has solved the puzzle, he opens his eyes, but as he does so, he is teleported back to the room once again.
I guess this door's just too tricky for me. Guess I better give up, right? Wrong. Let's try that again.
He then tries plenty of different strategies to navigate this puzzle, such as mapping things out in the realm beyond the door, by going in with his eyes closed and coming back to take notes. But nothing is working, and the room seems different each time. Eventually, after tons of struggling, he hears Jake's voice and decides to follow it. Finally, a sign of hope! Doing this gets him out of the maze, and he makes it to the surface. But once again, as he opens his eyes, all progress is gone. Finn ends up deciding that he'll have to live his life with his eyes closed from now on, because literally nothing seems to be the answer to this dungeon. So he goes back to his treehouse and lives life while making sure to not open his eyes. He ends up even going an entire month without ever opening them. But Jake forcefully opens his eyes for him, and all progress is seemingly lost. Yet again. No matter how many times Finn tries to live his regular life with his eyes closed, eventually it is ruined by Jake.
It's like programmed into your DNA or something.
This causes Finn to conclude that he must solve this puzzle on his own, and that he can't keep going home with Jake. So while continuing to keep his eyes closed, he heads off into the woods all on his own, determined to free himself from the maze. While doing so, he stumbles over a fallen tree and catches his shirt on it unknowingly, causing it to unravel as he walks away. He soon notices the string from his shirt and snaps it, symbolizing letting go of his want for control. As well, in order to allow himself to fully be guided by his intuition alone, Finn throws all his possessions into a river which he can hear nearby. Now this is where the adventure really starts, as representations of his past self float away down the river.
No more threads to follow. No more egress.
He blindly travels through all different types of terrain, up until he unknowingly finds his way to a desert which has yet another dungeon that is just like the original Egress dungeon from the woods. After bumping into the door of Egress within this new dungeon, Finn instantly recognizes it as familiar.
Something's different.
Trusting his intuition, Finn removes his multiple blindfolds and decides to finally do what he hasn't in so long. As he opens his eyes, it's not just his human eyes opening, but also his third eye, as he then enters into a realm where he is in a see-through maze, with elements from the original Egress dungeon all around. Everything is gone besides living, conscious beings. This is symbolism for this journey of Finn's finally becoming more clear, as well as him diving into the depths of his own consciousness while separating himself from the external physical world. As he sees Jake, he begins to run to him, while Princess Bubblegum's voice says this to him.
Hurry, Finn. At the seashell's center lies the cornucopia's smallest door.
Princess Bubblegum saying this sums up the entirety of this episode quite well. Seashells are a representation of spiraling inwards into ourselves. Pushing through the difficult things while diving deep within yourself and trusting your intuition ultimately leads to a cornucopia, which is a representation of plentiful abundance. The door of entry to this abundance is very small, because it is often the smallest of realizations that allow us to have a breakthrough of growth, which leads to the abundance. The key to escaping the puzzles of life which have limited you for so long is to focus on the small yet essential steps, as well as internal growth, instead of focusing on all the overwhelming external things. The more we do this deep internal reflection just the same as Finn, the more doors to abundance we will find. At last, after having this epiphany regarding the essentialness of self-reflection and spending who knows how much time alone trapped in his own mind, Finn is reunited with Jake, while being able to finally actually see him for once.
Whoa! That must have been some cave.
No comment!
It's likely Finn chose to not comment on the crazy journey he just went through because he feels that he doesn't need to externalize it. He understands the lessons I just explained and feels that there's no use trying to make others understand his journey. It was a personal lesson for him that doesn't need validation from others. As long as he has the lessons internally, that's all that matters. Surprisingly, this actually isn't the only episode of Adventure Time which has rather trippy events caused by a mysterious dungeon. Except this time around, things aren't just trippy for Finn, but also the character Lemongrab. And let me tell you, some of the visuals in this next episode are definitely even trippier than the Hall of Egress episode I just spoke on. In Season 6, Episode 28, titled The Mountain, Lemongrab is sleeping and a mural over his bed gets a crack in it. This causes him to believe that the prophecy shown in the mural is coming true, so he leaves to a place called the Mountain of Matthew. As he is doing so, Finn and Jake see him heading there and decide to follow him.
It looks like he's headed for the Mountain of Matthew. I hear buku spooku legends about that place.
Buku spooku, you say?
While going through the entrance to the mountain, a guardian lets only Finn pass and causes Jake to have to stay behind.
You have no beeswax in the Mountain of Matthew, supple yellow dog.
Looks like it's an adventure for Finn only, and Lemongrab, who is already inside. While inside, a mysterious voice speaks to Lemongrab saying that in order to reach it, he must choose correctly. Lemongrab is then shown 3 visions in 3 different mirrors. In the first, he is shown Princess Bubblegum asking him to play catch with her.
Come, Earl of Lemongrab, let us play the game of catch. I am eager to relate to you.
Yes, I desire this as well.
In the second, Lemongrab is shown the character Lemonhope gaining control of his kingdom, which he doesn't seem happy about and wants to prevent. And in the third mirror, he is shown his co-ruler and himself fighting over their son, who is a doll named Lemon Sweets.
Lemon Sweets.
After some tough thought, he chooses to run into the mirror with his son so he can save him. He passes right through the mirror and enters into a realm where he is small and everything else around him is huge, while he runs through Lemon Sweet's playhouse to save him. This is symbolism for Lemongrab choosing the path of showing empathy and love for others. That is why he is visualized to be just like Lemon Sweets, a small doll in a playhouse. Then on top of this, while Lemongrab is trying to save him, he jumps right into Lemon Sweet's mouth as if he is becoming one with him.
I'm inside you! Sticky.
Lemongrab then ends up on what seems to be a floor made of lemons, with a dark void all around. And the same voice from earlier tells him to
taste the grease, Lemongrab.
So he does just that. Nice. Then the voice says to look up. And as Lemongrab does this, he becomes a bigger version of himself with the small version of himself hanging on his nose. And this big version is laying on the same lemon floor from earlier, which is probably inferring that this cycle of bigger Lemongrabs with small Lemongrabs on their nose may just go on infinitely.
I am grease.
Lemongrab isn't just one with Lemon Sweets, but one with the very essence of grease. As mentioned earlier, Lemongrab isn't alone on this spiritual journey, as Finn is following right behind, and finds himself at the same 3 mirrors Lemongrab did, where he is also told to choose correctly. He is shown Flame Princess dancing with Cinnamon Bun, and Cinnamon Bun is telling him to become him. Then he's shown Jake baking Finn cakes with BMO, and before he is shown the last mirror, he hears Lemongrab's voice yelling as he does this within his own experience.
Pure essence!
As Lemongrab mentions pure essence, the third mirror is revealed to Finn and a butterfly is shown. Without question, Finn runs into the mirror with the butterfly. This actually has very deep meaning, as Finn lived a past life as a butterfly, and butterflies are incredibly symbolistic to his overarching story.
A long time ago, I crashed on Earth and became a butterfly or some biz.
Once again, I talk about all of this in my video on Finn's story, so I'd highly recommend watching it. Anyway, similar to Lemon Grab, after riding the butterfly, Finn begins running on the arm of a large version of himself, and suddenly, he no longer has his whole arm. Finn then notices a small version of himself running on his arm, and then he becomes the small Finn and runs off his arm into a void and regains his arm as he enters another section of this experience. I told you this episode gets super trippy. This whole scene is referencing the past, present, and future all at once. At the time of this episode, which is Season 6, Episode 28, Finn has lost his arm once before in Season 6, Episode 2, and regained it in Season 6, Episode 6. As well, in the future, Finn loses his arm for a second time in Season 8, Episode 13. On top of all this, Finn has even once in the past incarnated as a being which lost its arm. This trippy scene is showing how Finn has lost his arm once before, and will again later in his life. It's part of his very essence. As Finn enters the next section of his experience, he runs through a white light, and is now wearing white clothing along with Lemon Grab, and there is a being called Matthew with them. Finn initially goes for his sword to fight Matthew, because of what Jake said to him before he came here.
I hear buku spooku legends about that place.
Buku spooku, you say?
But Matthew asks Finn to ask himself if what Jake said actually feels right, so Finn looks to his Finn sword, which is tightly connected to him and his essence, and the Finn sword shakes its head no, so Finn holds back. Matthew then tells Finn that the meat bodies who have journeyed to the mountain have distilled themselves into their original source materials and exist in oneness.
That's why you're here, LG? To merge with Matthew?
It is one option. To know the ecstasy of my ego death.
Well, nice knowing you.
Initially, Lemon Grab came to Matthew to escape from his crazy self in order to merge into everything and experience a complete ego death, like what I explained near the start of this video. But due to him realizing his pure essence being lemon grease, all thanks to that crazy psychedelic spiritual experience from earlier, he was able to further self-actualize and find internal peace. So rather than merging with Matthew for an ego death, Lemon Grab takes Lemon John candies from his pocket, which are made by people of his kingdom that are one with his essence. And he then says this:
If you are the head that floats atop the ziggurat, then the stairs that lead to you must be infinite. Infinite stairs are unacceptable!
Lemon Grab saying this seems to be a reference to most likely Christian religion, and the story of the Tower of Babel. Although many religions reference ziggurats, I assume this scene is referencing Christian religion just because Matthew is an apostle within Christianity. In this Christian story about the Tower of Babel, supposedly all humans spoke one language and some were trying to build a man-made tower, and or ziggurat, to reach the heavens and connect the earth to them. But God rejected them trying to reach heaven through man-made structures, so he forced humans to begin speaking many languages, which stopped the construction of the tower. It seems that Lemon Grab believes Matthew to be a false god and or prophet of some sort, and is symbolistic of this very story, or at least something similar to it. That's because Matthew is a being sitting atop a man-made structure claiming to essentially be access to heaven and or pure ecstasy through ego death. But according to Lemon Grab, the road to perfection and pure lack of ego is infinite and a never-ending journey.
The stairs that lead to you must be infinite. Infinite stairs are unacceptable!
This is why Lemon Grab rejects merging with Matthew, and when he destroys Matthew with his Lemon Johns, he proves to himself that Matthew was in fact a false god or prophet, and not an acceptable way to the heavens, because Matthew bursts into a bunch of sentient beings similar to himself. Which is symbolistic to that same Christian story I explained, as Matthew's essence of oneness is being fragmented as punishment, similar to how in the story, humans go from speaking one language to many. Plus, if Matthew truly was a route to the heavens, he probably wouldn't have been overpowered so easily like that. After all this self-discovery, Lemon Grab and Finn are finally able to leave the mountain, destroying the entrance's guard with Lemon Johns as they exit. Lemon Grab then returns home and spits chewed Lemon John into the original crack of his bedroom's mural. This is symbolism for him beginning to repair problems within himself and healing his mind. That's why the mural's crack is in the head of a person. Even though Lemon Grab may still not be perfect, he's further figured out who he is, after staying true to himself and avoiding the temptations of Matthew. He has found peace through realizing that chasing perfection is an infinite journey which can consume us. He may be different, but that's wonderful.
Yo, it's Grease!
Although Finn had to leave Jake behind while going through the Mountain of Matthew, in this next episode, the both of them get to experience all the weirdness together. In Season 4, Episode 18, titled King Worm, Finn wakes up to Princess Bubblegum greeting him as her husband, and he is king of the Candy Kingdom. Yeah, something already isn't right. And this is only demonstrated even further as the banana guards in the throne room with Finn are shown flipped upside down. Finn then sees a worm climb up from Princess Bubblegum's shoulder, and it appears to be sending out a vibration, then soon runs away. And right after, Finn is teleported to a completely new area and is being fed soup by Flame Princess. The spoon which she is using to feed him then mysteriously turns into the same worm from before, and Flame Princess turns into Peppermint Butler, who tells Finn this.
You are trapped in a dream, and you are in danger. You need to find this worm and break it.
You've got him right there!
After receiving Peppermint Butler's message, Finn is teleported to yet another new location where he comes across Jake, who tells him that he himself also seems to be trapped inside of a dream and can't wake up. It seems as though their dreams are linked to one another somehow. In order to try and solve the issue at hand, Finn begins popping things such as a sword into existence by using his own thoughts to manipulate the dreamscape.
Rad! I usually dream of messed up stuff, like a shark trying to bite off my face.
Finn's mind definitely has a lot of influence in this dream world, and Jake warns him that if he isn't careful, he could accidentally blow apart the entire dreamscape with his subconscious fears.
If you grunk up the dreamscape with your subconscious fears, the whole thing will blow apart.
So, rather than using his mind against himself, Finn uses it to his advantage to continue on his mission to find the worm with Jake. After some exploring of the dream world, the two of them come across their dad Joshua, but he just sits there in silence and begins knitting, which puts Finn and Jake in a trance.
That scarf looks familiar.
Yeah.
Well, that's because it is, Finn. And Joshua's knitting turns into a giant version of the worm, who immediately runs away. So Finn uses his mind to give himself giant legs, and gives Jake a bird for his legs, so they can chase the worm efficiently. After climbing up a mountain while lumpy space princess Rain falls on them, eventually they reach the giant worm who is frozen at the top. Now's their chance to break it. So they do just that. And when they do, the dream world melts away and Finn wakes up along with Jake. Finally, the weirdness is over.
We did it! Yeah, yeah, yeah!
Yeah, yeah, yeah!
Except, Finn notices that the mirror doesn't look quite right.
I'm pretty sure this is not normal.
Nah, it's fine.
Bruh.
More weird stuff keeps happening, and it's clear to Finn that they in fact are still in a dream, but Jake doesn't seem convinced that they are. So Finn pinches him, and as he does so, Jake melts. So I guess Jake wasn't even real this whole time, and Finn has actually been alone within this experience. The puddle of Jake on the floor then turns into the giant worm.
You can't defeat me. I'm the king worm. I'm going to keep you in this dreamscape until I've consumed all your life energy.
As Finn is trying to figure out a solution on how to escape the dreamscape, a picture of Jake on the wall starts talking to him.
If you grunk up the dreamscape with your subconscious fears, the whole thing will blow apart.
Finn takes this advice and begins to tap into his deepest fears, such as his fear of the ocean, which causes water to start pouring from his belly button and begin flooding the room. Then, on top of this, the lich comes from his belly button as well. And as things are getting more chaotic, Princess Bubblegum comes from his belly button, and it seems the day is saved.
Woohoo! Finn, shush! I'm having coffee with the lich. You wouldn't understand. You're too young.
Never mind. But at least all this scary stuff happening has caused the king worm to begin shriveling up, and a clown popping out of Finn's belly button is the nail in the coffin, which causes the dreamscape to finally shatter.
Get out of our house, king worm!
The king worm then leaves, and things are back to normal.
Is it really you this time?
Yeah, man, it's actual Jake.
Cool. Pinch.
Ow, man, come on!
I'm just checking. Just checking.
Although Jake may have not been real during the majority of that episode, he's much more than real in this next one, as literally the entire world is made out of him. Let me explain. In Season 6, Episode 18 titled Everything's Jake, the character Magic Man flies to Jake and injects him with something mysterious while saying this.
The waffle doll shall fall, lest you eat the yellow dough.
What exactly does he mean? Well, we'll know soon enough. The injection makes Jake very sleepy, so sleepy that his face sinks into his own body. And when he wakes up, he is in a world made completely out of himself.
Everything's made of me.
Yep, just like the title of this episode, everything is Jake. There's even an entire city made of him. Jake then decides to explore around and comes across a shop. While looking at the dolls in the shop, Jake says this.
Wonder what my kids are gonna have for dinner. Maybe pizza? Whoa! Some kind of Jake-quake.
Isn't it interesting how one of the dolls in this shop is a waffle and just fell over? Kind of like what Magic Man said when injecting Jake. After this, a guy suddenly appears from the ground and begins talking to Jake, saying how he's his best friend Goose. But Jake doesn't seem to remember him.
How long's it been? 2, 3 years? Let's see, 1, 2, I've never been here.
Even though Jake doesn't remember Goose, he still decides to go and have fun at a party with him. During all this fun, Goose offers Jake food, which Jake can't eat because it's made out of himself. As Goose offers the food, another earthquake happens. It seems that every time food is mentioned, an earthquake takes place.
Cold cutting nacho sandwiches.
All right!
Right after the earthquake, a messenger comes to the party and tells Jake that the mayor wants to see him. Jake is then brought to a group of scientists who want to test on him so they can figure out the cause of the earthquakes. Although at this point, Jake already understands that it's from food being mentioned, which triggers his hunger, so he tells the scientists, but they don't believe him. So to prove his claim, Jake suggests that he could stretch outside of this world to get food, saying that when he does so, the earthquakes will stop. But another scientist named Eric jumps into the conversation and says this.
I believe that Jake is an extra-dimensional being, a glob, if you will, whose psychic field holds our world together. If he leaves, his flesh will reconfigure, and everything and everyone here will disappear completely.
The other scientists disagree with Eric.
You're just a fringe scientist.
But Eric replies by saying how they shouldn't even take a chance. So they all decide to put Jake in prison. Imagine getting screwed over by mob mentality, and the mob is yourself. While Jake is in prison, Eric decides to venture to the world beyond Jake, in hopes of getting food which is edible for Jake to eat so the earthquakes can stop. Eric ends up making it out of the Jake world and sees Finn eating spaghetti.
Ow! Oh, I thought you'd be beautiful. You're hideous! Hideous!
Honestly, valid reaction. I mean, imagine living your whole life in a yellow world that looks like this, only to come across something like this which is completely beyond your understanding. Makes sense. Anyway, luckily Goose comes to save Jake from prison and tells him this.
Go eat, Jake!
What if you and all the J-peeps disappear?
Then you won't have to pay me back that $5.
It's time for Jake to fulfill Magic Man's riddle from the start of the episode.
The waffle doll shall fall, lest you eat the yellow dough.
So Jake starts eating the yellow dough, which is himself, by stretching out of the world made of his body, as it disappears behind him, along with Goose. Now there will be no more earthquakes, and no more waffle dolls falling.
What's going on, man? Feeling okay?
Just getting a snack, Goose. Just getting a snack.
If you enjoyed this video, you'll probably enjoy my video where I cover Finn's entire story, or my video talking about the trippiest episodes of Rick and Morty. Both videos are on the screen right now, so go ahead and click one. As well, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Have a good one.